there is no learning. We can do this. We can just load it in. Do you have the updated list, CJ?
I will shoot it over to you. Give me 5 minutes to complete it.
Talk about on the fly.
Exactly. Yep. We have been working on many things that have good implications for Comanches.
So CJ, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the answers that we decided on last night, and then I'll just put the question. I'll copy those all down, and then I'll put the questions in.
I think that'll get the job done.
Okay, good.
Yep. And everybody who's joining, you all are going to be subject to the first attempt to harvest the wisdom of our collective group on how to prioritize the projects for our airplanes. And back to stuff. So say who you are, where you are, and what you fly, and welcome.
Jim Brown, 260, 65.
Jim, good to have you in. Thanks for joining.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks, dear. I enjoy it all the time. I should.
Hello, everyone. I'm brand new. I'm just got a Comanche. I'm November 88 Whiskey Bravo, and I'm interested in being part of the group here.
Hey, welcome. What's your name?
I'm sorry. My name is Jason Crockett.
Awesome, Jason. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. Hey, where do you fly out of?
Paducah, Kentucky area, little airport in Mayfield, Kentucky, Mike 25.
Sweet. The reason I ask is because every so often somebody gets on and discovers you have a next door neighbor in the group here with you. So that can be fine. Well, Jason, welcome. Congratulations on your new to you Comanche, and welcome to the group. By the way, Jason, did you happen to catch, I don't know if you're even interested, did you catch the laser altimeter group by in time to join it before the 20th, or did you actually get?
Yes, actually I did. I'm on the list. I guess I'm waiting for mine to come in. That's why I'm on the chat tonight, is because I wanted to see what other people's feedback on that was for folks who already had it installed.
Way to go. Cool. And for those who had neighbors who were like, and one guy was like, missed it by that much. I talked with Ned, and because there were 15 people who tried to buy like right after the 20th, he eventually came back and said, we can do something not quite as good, but still pretty good for the 15. So if you have one of those neighbors who was like, missed it by that much, let them know that they've probably got a couple of hours, but we're going to try to put kind of a quick slam dunk to get the rest of the people in. All right.
And I believe I might be one of those people. Sorry.
No worries. Hey, who's that?
My name's John Culler. I just met you at Oshkosh, and I just heard about so this is my bird. We just got back here a minute ago, so if I lose you, it's because I'm at a bad spot.
Perfect. Nice bird. John, good to see you again. Not as good as in person, but still cool. And if you have the ability to either shoot me your email or throw your email into the chat window, I'm going to shoot that right over to the landing height guys right now and be like, add John in. So what's easier for you?
Yeah, I'll do it through the group if I can. I did send you a messenger, but you may not have gotten it.
You know what? If it's Facebook Messenger, so forgive me, everybody, for airing dirty laundry, but Ned was like, I need the list. And I'm like, I actually have to check Facebook Messenger, my text messages, my emails, let's see, the Delphi Airworthy Comanche, the Fans of the Piper Twin Comanche Facebook group, and Pete and Bless. So he said it'll be right after the ComancheZOOM that you'll get the final list. So he hasn't said yes yet, but I'm hoping he will. Yeah, communication in the modern era. Well, welcome, and your bird is gorgeous. And where do you base out of?
I'm just outside of Denver, Colorado, Rocky Mountain Metro.
You have another new twin Comanche driver not far from you that just bought Ron and Ward's twin Comanche. So it's another twin, and his name is I want to say Stephen, and message me about that, and I'll put you guys in touch. And then Bill
That'd be
Kniff might
terrific.
help you guys build a neighborhood. Sure. Yeah. No, pretty birds and both twins.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us and being part of the group. Anybody else want to jump in and say who you are, where you are, and what you fly?
Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Ryan Colson, I'm the AMP mechanic. Going to be working on November 7199 Yankee, a twin Comanche out of Pine Bluff. No, not Pine Bluff. Where's he out of? He's in up by Pensacola, Florida, but he flies out here for maintenance in Kansas. So he wanted me to join this to see if I could get any insight on the install on this. So
Sweet. Well, thanks for being here, and thanks for being an AMP for our Comanches. We love people who are willing to work on our old airplanes, and we're glad to have you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Brian, we have a bunch of things that we've got on the mechanics on Comanche stuff that are recorded on the website. You're welcome to go look at that too, to review the recording. And tonight will be recorded also, so you'll be able to go back and review it.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, they're all at meetings.northeastcomanche.org. There's 70. Pete, is this going to be number 76?
I believe so. Yeah, for this year. That doesn't count the bunch from last year. We've got well over 100.
Oh gosh. Oh my Lord. Okay, so much for my ability to count. Well, right. Welcome and thanks again for being here. So nice to meet you. Yeah.
Nice to meet you too.
And if you want, let me ask you this, just out of curiosity, do you want more Comanches to come to you for maintenance?
I would love to. I have two Comanche 250s stationed here as well, but more the merrier. So.
All right.
And I'm out of.
Do you know how to? Okay.
I was gonna say I'm out of KGBD, Great Bend.
Cool. Do you know how to type into the chat window?
No.
Okay. If you're on an iPad, okay. If you can find the chat window, then throw your contact information there along with the fact that you're an ANP and you like Comanches, and we will add you to our list.
Okay. Yep.
Nice. Okay. Yep. Got it. Cool.
All right. And I'm gonna add in my business on him.
Sounds good. Yeah. So, and again, welcome, and everybody unmute and then remute afterwards, just because that way you can talk and make your dinner and we won't hear you.
CJ, just a slight interruption. If you need to send something to Mike, go ahead and send it. He's ready to receive it.
Okay, and Robert, I therefore deem you the who you are, where you are, what you fly king, and I am going to disappear for a few minutes.
Okay.
Hey, CJ, if you want to call me on my, are you jumping off the line, or are you going to stay on?
I think she jumped off.
Okay, great.
I'm still here, Michael. But what I did is I just muted video and audio and started to jump over to a different screen to finish the last.
Okay, great. All right, I'm just going to.
So I will call you.
We can do what you want in chunks too. We don't have to try to blast everything out at once. We can bring up the topic and bring up the vote on it, basically.
Ooh,
Hallelujah. Nice. And I do just want to say a real quick thing, which is a special hello to Jim Peters over in Oz, because there were, I think, 4 international orders, of which I think you kind of led the charge there. So hi, Jim.
Hi, yeah, I've got my laser altimeter in my hot little hand. Thank you very much.
It made it already. Brilliant.
So
well, good to see you. Yeah. Well, well done, sir.
I hope the storms didn't affect you.
I will just add this before I jump off. The thing chased me all the way across the country, and I got some of the most beautiful photographs because, you know, it makes for really dramatic skies. And then the moment I landed safe and sound at home, it turned south, and I literally have a photograph of this giant storm, and it's the weather radar for the storm, and the airplane is there as a red pin. And the moment I was safe and sound, it was like, I give up. And then it turned south to go harass other people. And I'm right on the edge. It didn't even get rained on. Like it got fogged or misted. So thanks for the good wishes.
Were there 1 or 2 events?
Ida was one event. It came sweeping up across the country and just sort of, mainly rain bombed everybody, but there were tornado warnings and all sorts of, and lots of flash flood warnings still going on.
Okay.
So, all right, good. Well, welcome again.
Some
Nice
pretty
to see you.
severe, we got some pretty
And-
severe
who's
thunderstorms here in
this?
Connecticut from Ida.
Yeah, it went
This is
down
about
to- it
time
went down
when
to
I'm
Brett.
on a Zoom with people from different countries on, and I won't be off.
Robert,
after
you're
10
not
o'clock,
muted.
So maybe tomorrow would be better.
Okay, Robert, over to you. I'll be back, everybody.
Okay, we'll continue with who you are, where you are, and what you fly. Go for it. If there's a quiet time in the mic, key your mic and let us know.
Hi everyone, I'm Adam Height from the UK, soon to be Arkansas. I'm happy to say I will actually be back in the United States in February next year, and hopefully for a couple of months and flying some Comanches.
How's the weather been treating you down there, Adam?
In the UK or in Arkansas?
Oh, no, down in the south.
We haven't really had much of an issue in Arkansas. We're still flying. My mechanic was in his citation today, so.
All righty. Anybody else? Key to the mic, who you are, where you are, what you fly.
Alan Cheek here, November 8131 Papa. It's a 63 Comanche 250, and I'm down here in Peachtree City, Georgia, just south of Atlanta.
Did you guys get much rain down there, or were you too far west?
We were too far east, actually. So we got some overcast clouds, and that was about it. And maybe just a little rain on Tuesday. Today, and then Wednesday, it just kind of thinned out. Today, it's absolutely blue skies, so all good.
Great to hear.
Rich Bergman, 9242 Papa. Am I transmitting?
Oh, you sure are.
You are.
Okay, sorry about that. Beautiful 67260 Bravo, El Cajon, California, Gillespie Field. And that's Southern California for anybody that doesn't recognize this pronunciation in this valley.
Hello, folks. Can you see me?
Yep.
My name's Milo Johnson, and I'm in Redding, California. I'm involved in a 1960 250, and this is my first Zoom, so I'm looking forward to hearing all this information.
Welcome, Milo.
Hey,
As I said earlier,
realize-
there's a whole bunch of Zooms. There's a whole bunch of Zooms that are recorded. You're welcome to go back and look and listen to any of them.
Milo, as long as you have the understanding that when we get together, you're buying the first round because this is your first Zoom.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that you may be, just a second, Robert, Milo, and for everyone else, one of the things that you may not be aware of is as we have had over 750,000 minutes of presentations. They are all recorded and all available for everybody to listen to. You go to Pete's website, northeastcomanche.org. You follow things that say Zoom. There is a separate listing for 2020 as opposed to 2021. We've been doing this about 1.5 years. And like I said, we've over 750,000 minutes of Zooms that everyone is welcome to go back and listen to.
Yeah, if you want, real quick, I can show it to you, hopefully here.
Okay, Robert, you're next.
Okay, excuse me. This is my first Zoom as well. I'm a little camera shy. My name is Robert Purcell. I'm based out of Manchester, New Hampshire. There's my airplane behind me. I'm sitting on the ramp. 8358 Yankee. And it's been a real good airplane. We love it.
Just want to say a quick special hello to Bob Purcell. Sorry, everybody, I'm popping back in while I'm editing, but Bob and I met when we were both we were both learning from a weekend clinic that you helped organize down in Nashua, New Hampshire. So big hello, and thank you for what you did for all of us to make us safer and better. Welcome.
Okay, I'm sharing the page on the website. It's the Northeast, I'll go back here. This is the Northeast Comanche Tribe. You go to, as it says up there, northeastcomanche.org. Click on ComancheZOOM. Brings you right to this page. There's a listing of the ones that are coming up, and these are the ones that are recorded. If you click on any of the links over here, you will get the recording. And down at the bottom, you see the list is fairly long. Down here at the bottom, there's a link that goes to the recordings from 2020. So there's a whole bunch down there too. Okay, end of share.
Fred Lawley from Livermore, California, November 12 Foxtrot Sierra. It's a PA 30 with mostly Miller conversion. And I had a question on the recorded Zooms. Does the chat window come along with the recorded?
The chat window is also, what you'll get if you click on the link is a PDF page describing what the Zoom was about. And then on that page down at the bottom, there is a link for the video version. There's a link for the audio only version, and there's a link for the chat.
Okay,
so you can get all, you can get them all.
Great, thank you. There have been some contact information that I thought I had captured for Hans's son and a guy up in Concord, California, and I missed them. So I'll go back to that Zoom and see if I can grab them there. Thank you.
Yeah, we haven't always saved the chat. You know, the earlier ones like last year and the beginning of this year might not have the chat there, but I believe if you wanted, I do have them on my computer so I can get at them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'll toss one more thing out. I'm keeping my eyes open for an IO360 C1F, Charlie 1 Foxtrot, that the Miller conversion uses in case anybody has an extra one sitting around. It's a contemplation to have a rotable, so I'm not down for so long while one's being gone through. Just thought I'd toss it out there. I should put it in the flyer as well.
Yeah, there is also on the website, there is a swap shop form, which we've used now to you put requests like that together. Anybody else? We got a good about 10 minutes or so before we're going to get serious about the list.
Thanks, gentlemen. Lincoln, Illinois, Kilo, Alpha, 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 right at the front of the list. 1959 Comanche 250, 5903 Papa.
Welcome, Henry.
Good evening, John Futter, Orange, Massachusetts, 1969 260C, 9317 Pop.
I'm Michael Saperton. I am in Phoenix, Arizona. I have a 1963 Comanche 250. And that's it. Hey, Pete, can you check your chat?
All right. Anybody else chime in? In fact, I could tell you myself, I'm Pete Morris. I'm in Danielson, Connecticut. In fact, I'm at the airport right now because they have good Wi-Fi. And I fly a 1963 250. I love it, except for the electric flaps. I got used to the Johnson bar, and I still have not gotten used to the electric flaps.
I'm with you on that one, Pete, because I've got my 63 has electric flaps, and my friend has which we just got back from the paint shop today. He had his end numbers changed. Anyway, he has a 58 250, and I taught him how to fly it. And anyways, I really got used to I really like those manual flaps, you know. So they just nothing can go wrong with them. knock on wood, but anyway, but that's life anyways.
Well, the biggest advantage is that when you touch down, you can dump the flaps immediately and the plane stays on the ground. With the electric ones, it has to think about it. And it usually thinks with 2 or 3 hops, sometimes sideways.
Well, not to mention just one more transmission, you gotta overhaul and grease and lube and whatever else, so. But I do like the extra gas tanks versus his 58, so.
Rodney Cubic, 7255 Papa, 1961 Piper Comanche. I'm just finishing up getting those shoulder harnesses in it. Des Moines, Iowa.
Nice.
Owen Catherwood, November 9090 Papa, a 1966 260 Bravo Comanche, based out of Eugene, Oregon.
Hey guys, Serge St. Hilaire. I fly a 65-400 out of Quebec, Canada. And the airplane is currently in pieces, going through its annual this week, so we're looking for some surprises this week, I guess.
Good evening, everyone. This is Brian Wilson, November 7184 Papa. Have a 61 250. I've owned it for about 20 years. And I've had a lot of problems trying to get in Zoom over the last couple of weeks, and this is the first time I've able to get the audio. So I'm happy to be able to hear everybody.
Special welcome to Brian. Way to go on persistence. We have been intending and promising to do a Zoom on Zoom because you are not the only one. So thanks for persisting and welcome to the group.
Thank you very much, CJ.
Hey, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, one thing that I figured out, this is Alan Cheek down in Atlanta, but literally on one of my calendars every month, but I just write down the Zoom meeting, which is 895-751-66480. And so I don't have to find any link. I just go to the Zoom app in my iPad, boom, type that in. And then it asks, hey, do you want to join the meeting with internet and video? And I go, yep. And voila. So that might make it easier for you. If you just copy down that number and then just go directly to Zoom and type it straight in. And that way you're not hunting for the link via the weekly email. So anyways. Food for thought.
Thank you very much, Alan. I was actually hooking up into the Zoom, but I couldn't hear anybody. My audio was what was giving me the problem for the last three or four Zooms I tried to get in. But somehow either I've had an update or something, but it's working now, and I'm happy to be part of this Zoom again. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Where did you get that number? Or can you read that number to us again?
Yeah, but here's the number, gang. It's 895-751-66480. And that's the same number every week. For some reason, I thought, oh, it's a Zoom meeting. It'll be a different number every week or something like, anyway, no, it's the same number. Oh, there's about 7 deer in my yard. Anyway, it's the same number every single time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just go to Zoom app, type that in, tell them, you just say, yeah, I want the video with audio via the internet, or if you don't, you don't, whatever. eat up your data card. But anyway, you'll get straight on in every single time.
Well, just to increase the drama of the moment, since we're supposed to be voting on this in 3 to 4 minutes, I just sent the updated parts list from last week. Sorry about the shakies, everybody, to our heroic Mike Sepperton, and we will we'll do the best we can. For y'all, the laser height, landing height laser or LiDAR altimeter, Nidal Rob, will be joining at 8 sharp. And so we have a half an hour to go through this list, but we're not quite there yet. So just wanted to let you know it was out there. Michael, it should be in your inbox. And if we need to, we'll just wing it. No pun intended.
I think CJ, we're gonna have to wing it because I need to be made host to create that polling question. I can't do anything right now. We lost Pete and I've been trying to get a hold of him. So
oh my Lord.
Hey,
Didn't realize
Mike,
we had lost
you're already co-host. Are you sure you don't have the power to do that?
I can't. No, you have. Oh, we lost the host, so I can't. I don't know that I can be the host.
You're the host now, Michael.
Oh, who did that?
I didn't, but I just saw it come up on my screen.
Oh, great. Well, there you go. Okay, let me go ahead and create these questions, and y'all talk amongst yourselves while I'm waiting for that email to come in.
Sounds good. And actually, we're having a fun time. We have enough new people that it's really been fun to, meet the new faces and welcome them in. And so I'm back with y'all. So if you haven't talked yet, jump in and say who you are, where you are, and what you fly.
Yeah, I'm still not having any luck with this, CJ. We are going to have to wing it. So somebody's going to have to be willing to write down the answers to the questions in priority.
Sounds good. Quick hello to Serge in Canada. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
So I think, Robert, what I'm going to do, you're the co-host. I'm going to log out and log back in as the host, okay?
Okay, yeah, you're gonna do that with what we discussed before, so go ahead.
Exactly. Yep. I'm going to do that right now.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Now I'm going to ask, so we're going to go through these, this list, which, Michael, are you able to share your screen to this?
I can. I have not received your new email yet. I don't know if that's.
Oh, well, that doesn't help very much.
No. Oh, here it is. Just okay. Stand by.
Yeah. No worries.
Let me take this as a full screen here. I can share just this screen. Stand by.
You bet. So, and for y'all, what we were having fun with is figuring out how Zoom can handle polling. And it actually can do that. It can give us like multiple guess answers. And then as we were going through the list, we realized we needed to make a shorter list. And if your screen is able to wrap, that will let those of us on small screens zoom in so that we can look at the list. Some of these have quite a bit of text with them, and that was left in when our discussions from last week left us with useful information. So for example, if you look at, so Michael, the biggest thing will be, if you can, well, maybe not to wrap this window, the aileron nose rib doubler, which is number 4. What came up last week is that actually was an AD that was the result of a series of service bulletins, and the aileron nose rib, the service bulletins were like, please check this for cracks. Eventually they said either check it for cracks every 100 hours or put a doubler on, and that terminates the AD. The doubler then became unobtainium and thus ended up on our list. So an unobtainium is a technical term for can't get it anymore. So what we're going to do is just quickly run down this list and let you all read it. Can a quick question just out of convenience. Is there anybody, oh, this is not a good question. Can you all mute? If you are on a computer, in general, the space bar will allow you to mute and unmute. If you're dialed in, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, they have to be on the actual. They have to be actually on the screen for on that screen for the space bar to work. But go ahead and give their instructions.
Good point. Yeah, if you're saying, Michael, that if you're in another window with your Zoom in the background, that won't do that, which is a good thing. But yeah, you'll need to have your Zoom window in the forefront. If you are dialed in, *6 on your cell phone or landline will mute and unmute. And if you are on an iPad or an iPhone in general, if you touch your screen on the bottom left, you'll see a little microphone, and if it has a red slash over it, you're muted, and you can touch that to mute and unmute. Like same with your video. Can somebody with an Android phone give their mute unmute advice?
With an Android phone and I believe with iPhone, and if you're in the Zoom app, you can swipe, I think, all the way to the left, and then it puts it in safe driving mode, and you can just tap to unmute and tap again. And there's actually a screen that comes up that says tap to unmute.
Correct. Michael's right. My iPhone does that too. If I swipe.
Swipe right, actually. It's the very left.
Yep. Okay, the reason I brought this up is I want to make sure we can get everything done. So I wanted to make sure you got them muted.
CJ, repeat last bandwidth.
I'll mute
Go
everybody
to
automatically.
blank your video out.
Okay. I asked that. Right now, everyone is showing is muted, and that's because when people join the Zoom, they all join muted, and that's because if we have 100, or we've actually, with the autopilots, we had over 200 people in the room at once, or not at once overall, and so it, if you have stuff happening in the background, you're that way you can make your dinner, or your kids can come in and ask you questions, and it doesn't stop the meeting. The reason I wanted you all to make sure you could unmute is because your opinion is important. So our list includes hard front back.
CJ, we lost you. CJ, we lost you. Okay, for the moment, it looks like CJ has unfortunately dropped off. This is Robert. Let's take a look at this list. The whole purpose of having this list is so that we could go ahead and decide ourselves on give an opinion as to what you feel is the most important. So if you can scan down this list and become familiar with what's there, so that as the discussion goes on, you can be able to raise your hand or vote as however we work that out. Those that have a full screen, please note on the bottom, you have a reaction, and there's also a chat window, and there's a poll. So just be advised of that for the future. Mike, if you're in progress, CJ looks like she dropped off. It could have been a reception problem or a battery problem. If you unmute, let us know where you stand.
We're going to have to do this manually because it looks like I have to log completely out and then log back in as a host to do this. And it would mean restarting the entire meeting. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to do this by hand. So we'll just take a raise, people raise their hand or just vote on a, let's see if I put the, I could put in the chat window the answers to the questions that we came up with. These were going to be stand by. Let me copy these and put these in the chat for everybody to see, and let me know if you can see them.
I was just going to say, do you want to have a sample question to go through the process? Like have a question like, is today Thursday, and see how many people raise their hands so that we can go through the practice of expressing an opinion.
You can certainly, that's one way of doing it. Stand by, guys. Here are the answers to the questions for everybody. So when the poll was going to come up, there was going to be like, number one is hard front baffles. And you guys were, if you can all look at your chat and let me know if you can see your chat window on all your devices. And CJ was really wanting to get the answers to these questions, like what your opinion was, if each of these items was important to the fleet, a top priority, or you needed it now, a top priority to use personally, or likely I will need this in the future, want to have on hand, and number one, not important at all. So it was like from the highest to the lowest. And then the three questions she wanted to ask also is what aircraft do you operate, a twin, a single, or both? And so that would be important to know about each of you in the beginning. So if each of you can say what you operate in the chat, take a snapshot of the chat window. So each person, you can tell us whether you operate a twin, a single, or both. Maybe even the actual model number of your airplane, that would be great. And then we'll go through these questions and have you answer them 1, 2, 3, and 4 according to their importance to you or to the fleet. Is that okay, Robert? You think that works?
I think that's a good, it's yes. The chat window is visible for those that have a PC. You move your cursor on the bottom and then there's the chat appears. I'm not sure how it is for the other folks.
I can't see the chat window, Gordy's saying.
There's a number of people that are putting in their make and models, and no problem. This is all saved in the chat. So if we can't process it instantaneously, it'll be available in the chat.
Exactly. And CJ, you're back on. I can see you.
I am. I'm just assuming you asked us to say what we were flying.
Exactly. We have to do this all manually because in order to get the polling to show up for everybody, we have to restart the meeting with polling turned on. And the meeting was already started when we activated that function.
Neat. Okay, good.
Yeah, so we'll know for next time.
Learning. Good. So did somebody already run down the parts list?
No, right now we're discovering who's flying what.
Brilliant.
Okay, and then then we'll, at the top of the list, we had the order of importance 4, 3, 2, 1. And hopefully everybody took a snapshot of that or can scroll back down the list and look at it and vote accordingly. And then we'll go down the list. And now that you're back on, you can read the list if you'd like.
So hard front baffles. So this list is a list of things that came up last week when we started to ask owners, what do you feel like are in short supply? And people just started coming on to volunteer parts. Although what we're going to suggest is this: take a quick look at this list of parts. Feel free to unmute. Just try, if you start stepping on each other, it's just like ETC, back off and then talk afterwards. If you look at this list of 19 parts, anything that you critically want to see added, and for anyone dialed in, the hard front baffles, those are when you look in past your prop and the singles. That's that curved surface done on something like an English wheel that are hard to get. Just a quick note that Matt Kirk used to make replacement front baffles, and Cranston Kincaid has started to make them again and is willing to do a group buy. but they are unobtainium at the moment, and they handle the airflow into your airplane. Many Comanche baffles have gotten pretty beat up over the years and are pretty well patched. You'll note, you look in and there's a lot of rivets. The interior door handle and the mechanism it attaches to, that can actually leave you, Pete, is this correct? It can leave you stuck in your airplane?
I don't
And that was
believe
a Pete Moore suggestion. Go ahead.
Pete is with us.
Pete's
anymore.
Wi-Fi blew out, so he logged off and he's on his way home right now. CJ, this list parts in short supply, was that sent out in an earlier email? If it was, if you forward it to me, I'll print it out and then I can take the notes as we go through the discussion.
That would be
CJ,
wonderful.
you are correct that the handle, if it comes off in your hand, you're stuck in your plane.
You are completely stuck in your airplane. You're absolutely.
It's a good idea. Everybody should carry a pair of pliers at least, so you can get a hold of that little nub if you have to get out of the plane. Otherwise, somebody has to let you out from the outside.
So the discussion last week noted that apparently it is a Chevy part. And in addition to that, there was a Comanche owner that actually owned Lancer and now owns Revo Air. Lancer literally owns, like Lancer, the airplane company, the experimental airplane company. And they invented a new door spline. But this is something that if yours is getting shaky and you feel it's getting pretty loose, or you've ever had it come out and had to get it back in, we need to know if we should prioritize getting a part supply of these available. And we'll come back and run down them. And again, let's do them one at a time. How many? Go ahead.
This is Jimmy Humphries. I had that problem of mine. I got a Chevrolet put on there, but then I found a kit on eBay for that thing that fit. You could adjust a handle on it. But it was all metal. I don't know if they still got them. I hadn't looked at them, but I found one on eBay that went for a Piper. I don't know if it said Comanche, but it fit there and worked perfect.
So we could potentially get your kit duplicated if you were willing to.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
do
Robert,
that.
could you write down that Jimmy is willing to make that kit available for duplication as a possible solution?
Like I say, could you put that some notes in the chat room so I can go ahead and copy it down?
Nope.
It ended up being a real nice kit. I had to do a little something to put it on there, but it fit good.
All right. Is anybody willing to write notes into the chat window while we go down this list and be that person?
I could, CJ. What was the kit? I'm still trying to figure this polling thing out.
So for all right, so let me go back to number one, hard front baffles. That's usually an issue more with the singles. How many need those front baffles? And if you do, you can either shout out or put a note in the chat window. And Jason, thank you so much. So it looks like Jason's taken over typing into the chat window. Jason, awesome, thank you. So Jeff and Shelley need the front baffles. And they figured out how to do the hand raise. Robert needs the front baffles. I think Marty, that's a yes. If you can find your chat window, and you can put a note in that says, I need these, or I think we need to make more available. And the main reason that we want good front baffles is to keep our cooling good so that our engines last a long time and are healthy. Now, actually, I shouldn't say that. If somebody who's an A&P in here can comment on why we want good, healthy front baffles, I'm happy to defer.
Can you repeat that? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yep, it's that the hard front baffles, those are the complex curved front baffles that initially the airflow comes in and then flows over the cylinders to keep our engines cool. Is the main reason that we want good healthy front baffles for a combination of good speed, since if we can get a little bit of turbulence and good cooling.
Yeah, you always want that front baffle to keep your airflow from going underneath your jugs. You want it to come up and over your cylinders to pull the hot air down and out of your cowling.
Super cool.
All right, so that's that extra couple of knots of speed and maybe your engine lasting longer. Does anybody need time to find the chat window so you can say whether you need it now, need it soon, don't need it, etc. Okay, interior door handle and the mechanism it attaches to. That's that thing where, was it John or Alan that said carry a pair of pliers just in case? So that references the fact that that door handle, when it becomes unattached, is Pete, is it not, or Pete's gone now, but Pete raised this last time as you can get stuck in your airplane, and he seemed to not know where to find more. So we have a couple of options, but if you would like to have a spare interior door handle and mechanism, they do wear over time and eventually you'll need to replace them. So if you want to stick a note into the chat window. And then the two options is Jimmy Humphreys very generously said he's got a kit that he put in his airplane that he could make available for duplication. And one of the projects the Northeast has been working on is to pull together people with laser scanning equipment so that we can create 3D scans that can then be fed into CNC machines to duplicate parts. And 3 DERs, 2 mechanical engineers, an electrical engineer, some software people, etc. And some people with PMA approval experience and STC and field approval experience. And the goal is to identify the parts that are most critical and make sure that they become available so that we stop being tempted to part out Comanches that could be flown again just because we want to keep our airplanes flying. We need to not need to make that choice. Okay, super. 3, main gear, side brace studs. These are one of the things that needs to be inspected when you do your 1,000-hour gear AD, and it's part of your landing gear system. And they are very solid pieces, but when they become smaller in size in the neck, you need to replace them. So so Kevin, or if Kevin Nadler is on, Kevin was checking with Webco today on whether they would become available. He was going to try to join us tonight, but I don't know if he was able to. He's an annual and he's doing an heavily owner assisted annual. So they are available from Piper, but they are twice as expensive as Webco's, which were Piper's were I think $650 a pair, or maybe it was even worse. It was $650 each, and Webco's were half that price. If you will need it at some point or want to make sure that we have an adequate supply of the Webco types of parts, then we will continue to advocate. What I was able to find out is Webco still does have the blueprints, and therefore we believe they simply need to get hooked up with another functional CNC machine and somebody who's got an acceptable process. Number 5, Kevin Nadler said the ProPilot autopilot. It's the only autopilot that we still don't have in our hot little hands. What I can state is that STC Group said that there are 120 singles and 40 twins waiting for the ProPilot autopilot. And that the last we have heard is that the FAA has approved all of the different areas except the test flight review group is still reviewing. So that autopilot will be, as you know, the group buy made that autopilot about $5,750. The secondary group buy, until the STC is issued, which should happen any day now, is $6,000. So stick a note into the chat window if you want to be added to the group buy special for the ProPilot autopilot, because that better price is available until the FAA says finally yes. Then the heads up is this: they're going to have to order the brackets, and they have already initiated the order for the cap stands, because this is a cap stand servo model. It makes it very powerful. Garmin thinks that the GFC 500 will be shipping for the twins in Q4. And part of what made Garmin make that decision to go for the twins is the fact that they have already got so many singles installing the GFC 500. They're at 41 as of yesterday. I got an email from Wayne McGee, and we have definitely gotten Garmin's attention as a type. So congratulations, everybody. Apparently that is a huge success for Garmin, and they're very impressed with the Comanche. Lower nacelle for twins. Obviously, this was a twin request, and there was a secondary request. Can it be done in carbon fiber? If your lower nacelles are beat up, now would be a good time as a twin driver to jump in and say, I need this. And also, if you're a twin driver and you don't need it, it would be very helpful if you could really just take a moment and say, don't need.
When you say lower nacelle, do you mean the lower engine cowl?
Yes, good question, exactly. If you need any part of the engine cowl for the twins, there's a gentleman named George Alston who until recently had 2 twins, 100 STCs for installation of medical equipment in various airplanes, and an English wheel. And he had made a full mold for, I think, both twin nacelles. And so if you need them, what we'll do is initiate a request to find out what's available and get more of those made. Again, we're trying to make sure that we don't have aircraft on ground waiting for parts.
CJ, I'm going to jump in here a second. I like what Mike Meadows is doing. If everybody could do that too, like put the question number next to your answer would be great. That'll help us a lot when we try to decipher this list.
Vortex generators. This was an animated discussion for the parts need last week. The twins, what we've discovered is that they are available. They are available both for the singles and the twins. This discussion I left in because I have heard from enough people about this request for both. So the answer to many people's question about is this still available is yes. They're available for microdynamics. If enough people want them, we'll go find out if a group buy is possible to save everybody money and also to answer install questions as they come up. When we're all installing at the same time, we tend to be able to help each other, and it saves people money because AMPs are, tend to be able to, we are able to move information back and forth that tends to save everybody time and result in a higher quality for all of us. The Malcolm Dickinson has the Vortex generators on his 260B. So for those reading the comments there seems to be a real benefit on the twins in that there's a safety improvement because the key VMC questions become less critical. In the twins, they become much more stable at lower airspeeds, even with one engine. And in the singles, Malcolm said, yes, they make the airplane very docile to land, but he's losing, definitely losing speed. And the Comanche singles aren't that hard to land if you're good with airspeed. So he's equivocal. But the twin drivers, if you have them, now would be a great time, if I shut up, for you to jump in and say, I have them and I love them. And it's a great time for you to put into the comment field, I want them, or why in the world would I want to put something like that on a good laminar flow wing? Stabilator weight kit is number 8. Many of you know that the Piper Comanche was certified with a VNE of 227 miles an hour for any of the 250s or 260s. And does anybody know if that applied to the Twins as well? I think the Twins had a different VNE. There was a concern about tail flutter, and the VNE was reduced to 188 unless you had the what we call the eggs, which is the rudder weight kit. And you'll sometimes look at your rudder and see two V-shaped set of brackets with a little egg, and that's the rudder weight kit that increases your VNE to 204, I want to say. And then if you also have what I call the torpedoes, and those go on the outside ends of your stabilator, and those increase the VNE, restore the VNE to 227.
CJ, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Rich.
When the flutter balls were put up on top of the planes in the factory, I don't remember when that started, 64, 65. I know the 260s had them. Did that abrogate the restriction and take it back to 227, which nobody ever said, and I can't find?
So my understanding of the AD is that if you have both the rudder eggs or balls and the stabilator torpedoes, which is the weight kit for the stabilators, your VNE of 227 is restored. So any Comanche with both the rudder balls or rudder eggs and the stabilator torpedoes has a VNE of 227. If you only have the rudder weight kit, your VNE is restored to 204. If you don't have either, your VNE is 188.
CJ, Mike Moran, if I could add something here.
Please.
CJ, my airplane has both. Of course, they've always been referred to by different names than what you politely use. But the stabilator torpedoes on my, that's a Lopresti kit. I've got the paperwork in the aircraft logs there. That was a Lopresti add-on that does restore the VNE to 227. So I don't know if Piper ever put out a kit. I'm new to Comanche ownership. I'm restoring this one, but I've got both, and I've gone through the paperwork, and it was a direct order from Lopresti.
Brilliant. We have them on our 260B as well, Mike. So our paperwork will also have that information. Why don't we get together and compare paperwork and then bring that back to the group for the next, like in either next week or possibly in a week or two. Next week, by the way, everybody, Genesis and I think hopefully Garmin's Wayne McGee will be coming to talk about advances over the last year in avionics, but we might be able to fit this into the beginning. I have heard this request from quite a few people because, because why not get more airspeed? One quick note about compliance. This AD required that your airspeed indicator be relabeled with the correct VNE. So if you do not have both kits, your airspeed indicator should indicate that your VNE is not 227. So the reason I mentioned it is just next time you do your walk around and get in your airplane, just a quick check to make sure that your airspeed indicator is either 188 or 204 or 227, and that if it's 188, you have a bare tail and bare stabilators, and if it's 227, you have a decorated tail and decorated stabilators. If not, technically, you're not compliant. One other thing is that there is somebody in the Comanche community working on an internal weight kit for the stabilators. And so one way or another, we're hoping that kit will become available. Oh, that's very helpful. The Lopresti kit is no longer available from Whelan, who bought Lopresti. And then the question becomes, can we negotiate with Whelan? Whelan happens to be in Connecticut, not too far from Westerly, Rhode Island. So we'll look at your feedback and see how soon we can make the time available to go and see if we can convince them to change their decision. Thanks for putting that in. I don't think this applies to the 400 at all because the 400 has an Aztec tail. And I'm catching these chat windows. So Serge asked, does this not apply to the 400? Does anybody with a 400, can anybody with a 400, Adam, oh no, Adam had to leave, comment?
It does not apply to the 400.
Thanks, John.
For the reason you stated.
What is the V&E for the 400?
Mine's actually marked in knots. It's 194. So that's like 224 or 223. So maybe you guys can be faster than me in a dive.
But not on the flat. Interesting. Thank you. And Serge just confirmed another 400 in Canada that it is 223. Okay. Strut housings, aka trunnions. I personally know of a 260C, a 260B, and a couple of twins that need the strut housings. There are repair possibilities.
CJ, can I put in something on the previous item on the tail?
Yes, please, everybody jump in. This is not me talking, this is us.
Do I recall that there are two different stabilator airfoils for the twin over time? Is anybody familiar with that?
I'm trying to think. There's the PA30 and there's the PA39. I'm trying to think about whether there were any changes to the PA39 stabilator, and I think
My recollection is that the PA39 is different.
with a heavier skin, I think it was.
I think it's even a thicker airfoil.
I think it's a thicker airfoil.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something we may want to confirm. Like I said, it's a suspicion of mine. It sounds like I have some backup on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know about the other items on the stabilator for the twin. If
I'm
they're
trusting whoever is taking notes, that question is going to get into the notes. And what the person who knows that without question is Kristen Winter. And normally I'm here on my cell phone and I just pop over to another window and text her. Okay, so Bob Purcell, thank you. So George Richmond told him it doesn't apply to the PA30. Oh wait, Bob, the airspeed reduction did not apply to the twins, right? Because I don't think I've ever seen those weight kits on the twins. Good one. Thanks for putting that in. That's really helpful. Twin fuel selectors. Oh, by the way, as far as the strut housings go, many of you know that in theory you can get I think it's a $14,000 repair set of very, very, very heavy duty sort of hacked out of aluminum from the Australian tribe. Then Myron Oakley has a project that looks like it may be very close, as in months away from being available. Probably 3,000, but we may be able to get a group together and get that down to about 1,500 for the strut housings. And lastly, Hans Newbert had identified a way to simply recreate our heavy duty strut housings. Monty Roberts turns out to have one of the original Piper repair kits done in the 1970s. He's confirmed he's willing to send that out to Sonny Monaco to be laser scanned. And so we're in the process of, and then Matt Kirk has now gotten involved, Comanche Gear, the god of Comanche Gear. And Matt has confirmed that that is the one that we should be reproducing. So we do expect to have choices in the strut housing area, remarkably. And that will make a big difference for a lot of twins, especially in the C models and some of the Bs. One other thing I'm going to just mention, because we as owners and operators can help preserve this tricky part during the period when we're making this available. And this is a repeat from last week. Zach said that he and Cliff Waluski have been talking about this. These are two of the top authorities on maintenance of the Piper Comanche, along with Kristen Winter and a few other people. That that list should grow as we identify our key ANPs around the world. He said, from an operational standpoint, we have never had a crack strut housing in a 180 or a 250 that does not have toe brakes. He said the only 250s with cracked strut housings have toe brakes. And Zach said that, and so spread this word around. When the strut housing is, when your struts are fully extended when you're landing, if you land with your toes on your toe brakes or hit your toe brakes after landing, it creates a forward sort of jolt at a time when those struts are fully extended. So the leverage on your struts is tremendous at that point. And they think that's why the toe brakes are actually a little bit, they put your strut housings a little bit at risk because you have this motion that puts a sudden shock into them. And the other thing that we as owner operators can avoid is high-speed taxi turnoffs. And he warned us that the human factors get in here. There are more problems on, I think it's the right side than the left side, and he thinks it's because your taxi turnoffs on the left, you can see the taxi turnoff coming up, and so we tend to do more gradual, well-formed turns, whereas on the right, we're looking across our panels in the 260C with the high panel, you're really looking across your panel. On the 180s and others with the low panels, not as bad, but again, you may come up and you're like, where the heck is that turnoff? And you're like, oh, there it is, and you come off braking sharply and doing a hard right turn and really put twisting force and torque on that strut housing. And they think that that has to do with why the strut housings are more likely to be damaged on that side than the other side. I might have that backwards, but that's the reason they think it's happening. So try to avoid high-speed right turns off taxiways and try to avoid hitting your brakes with your struts extended. Wait till the airplane settles down. Obviously, if you need to slam on your brakes because the runway is really short, you're going to go off the end of the runway, preserve the airplane first. But any questions or comments?
The only comment that I'd have, CJ, is that there's another good reason not to make high-speed turns. Actually, two good reasons. One is before you take off, not to make a high-speed turn because you could have fuel starvation on takeoff. But two, on landing when you're turning off the runway, that's a prime time for gear collapse.
Good point, John. Yeah, if your gear's worn or not quite well adjusted, don't side load it. Thank you for putting that in. Anybody else have comments or thoughts? Okay. If you have operational tips, bring them in and spread the word to others you run into. You may save the Comanche you save, maybe maybe helping us keep a critical number going. Twin fuel selectors. Evidently, the twin fuel selectors are unobtainium, and we're starting to hear that the parts of the single fuel selectors are also difficult to find. If you need that fuel selector, which has a little spring ball in there, it's kind of a complex part. Parker Hannafin is the maker, and they are still around, but they no longer make them, and they have not, apparently, reportedly, they've not been the easiest company to deal with about a few things. So, and I got a call 2 days ago from somebody with a 250B who had taken their fuel selector apart and was wanting me to help him find a replacement. Occasionally they're on eBay, but just a quick reminder with your fuel selector, check on the ground before takeoff. This should be part of your pre-flight checklist. Check and make sure your fuel selector is actually switching tanks. So do sump your tanks or whatever. The reason is that if it for some reason got frozen up and you ran a tank low and then went to switch over to your other tank or one of your other tanks, it may ruin your whole day if you're somewhere far away from where you want to be and you turn out to not have that fuel available in the tank. So make sure that your pre-flight includes that check. Don't skip the tank switch. Owen just added, or like his, it may not shut off fuel in the off position. Owen, that must be quite a story. Good point. I don't know how to check that it does shut off fuel in the off position.
Well, mine was found at annual because they couldn't inspect the gascolator because when they went to put it in the opposition to then start taking it apart, fuel started leaking everywhere.
Oh my Lord. So you'd catch that at annual.
Correct.
Let me ask a question about fuel tanks and how you guys are operating these things. I've kind of come up with the idea where I take off on one main, and if I'm not flying very far, I'll go ahead and switch while I'm flying to the other main and land on the other one. That way, I know they're both good. Does anybody do that kind of stuff?
The way I found works pretty well is to start on one side, on one main, and then do the run up and everything after that on the other main.
With enough time for the fuel lines to clear so you know that they're both good?
Right.
Okay. Sorry, CJ.
CJ's back. Fuel caps. We do have some progress on this. Most of us who have fuel cap problems are actually having problems with the rubber O-rings around our fuel caps, especially if you have the thermos bottle style rather than the screw down style. Kevin Nadler contacted, so two things. One is Jimmy Humphreys identified a great source. He went down to his truck place and they went and figured out what size O-rings he needed, and he was able to get some and get his fuel caps working again. Kevin Nadler spoke with Webco and discovered that Webco thought we wanted the caps assembled and that they didn't have any more of the fuel caps, but they did have the fuel O-rings. And so they are now going to be willing to let you purchase and ship just the O-rings. And what I don't know is whether that's one of those Part 43, you can do it as an owner. Does anybody here happen to know whether an A&P has to go and check and make sure that your fuel cap O-ring installation is correct?
That'd be great for Bert Lewis. He's on with us.
Nifty. Bert, you willing to?
I do not know the answer. This is Bert Lewis. I do not know the answer to that, but I think you have to have an A&P for that. The things that you don't need an A&P for are specifically spelled out in FAR 43. If it's not in there, then you can't do it.
Bert, thank you very much. And it will ruin your, oh, go ahead.
I said, you're welcome.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Hey, CJ, I have a question for the group regarding fuel caps.
Go ahead, John.
That is, when I bought my 400, it came with a box of quote unquote extras in the baggage compartment. And one of the extras is a tennis ball with a drywall screw run all the way through it. And it says emergency fuel cap on it. Has anybody ever used a tennis ball for an emergency fuel cap?
Sounds like a great wick for me. Amazing.
I guess how's that happen? You leave it on top of the wing, shut up the fuel and take off and forget about it?
Well, I don't know the answer to that because that was the previous owner's emergency fuel cap. But me personally, no, I've never done that. But I'm assuming maybe he must have or something happened.
I would be particularly cautious of that because of the potential for particulate contamination from the tennis ball.
Yeah.
Does that gasket, when it goes around there, does it have to have a sealer to seal it in place? Or is it just pressure seal from pressure?
It slides on, and when you twist the thermos cap, it tightens up. It pulls it up and spreads it out.
Okay, then there's nothing about trying to find
No-
the correct sealer for it other
No,
than
no
the way it's
adhesive at
used.
all. No adhesive
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jimmy, are your apps the screw down style? Or
Yeah, I
the
got-
thermal throttle flip lever style?
I got screw down side. Style. Yeah.
Oh, good. You just answered a question I had. So these rings work for both the screw down style and the flip lever style?
I don't know about that. I don't have a flip down side, but they could be. You know, I could see if the tank was the lid at the top of the bladder was the same size, it could be.
Okay, very good. I'm going to suggest that we stop, that we hustle through the next three and then stop and continue this as a part C, mostly because it's 8:15 and many of us are here to figure out how we want to do the laser altimeter installs or LiDAR altimeter installs. So Ned, I apologize. I know I promised 8 and blew through it. And I don't know if you all saw that, that Michael's got 3 of the screw down fuel caps that still work. So just real quick, the conduits, we had a big discussion last week about the fact that Piper makes conduits and those are still obtainable through Webco. And then Webco has a supplier that makes conduits that have Teflon coatings. So they're just better quality and they're much less expensive. Kevin spoke with Webco, who said the guy who made them has not died. And so they are still available. And for those of you who have been on Webco's list, the recommendation Kevin came back with is call Webco and be a squeaky wheel. Say, I've been waiting for conduits. Where am I on that list? When am I going to get my conduits? And I mentioned that because I have heard from pilots who have been on the list for conduits for years. And so apparently they do make them, and we'll try to come back with more information for that. The note on mouse milk is, was it Rich? Were you the person that said mouse milk is a good lubricant?
Yeah, I got that from my IA. That was the IA on my Comanche before I bought it.
Got it.
And we've known each other for years.
Mm-hmm. Got it. If you would like to be part of a group buy special on conduits, no guarantees whatsoever, because I don't think this is the way Webco works, but it probably would help them to know that there are going to be 20 people that want to order conduits so that they can put in that request. Mike Moran did some really outstanding work on likely sources of this cable, which is this Teflon coated cable, so that we can get them much more easily, because there's a suspicion that this is a really common cable and we just need to find a better way to get lots of them made. Hans Newbert had proposed on his ComancheZOOM that rather than doing bungees, that he create and get approved a spring replacement so you didn't have to change them anymore, or didn't have to change them until the spring got really around for a while. So if you are sick of replacing your bungees, which we recommend you do every year if your airplane is outside, and every 2 years if it's inside, based on some testing Hans did on the aging of bungees. The AD says every 3 years, but, and Hans, just in short, the reason is that bungee is cheap and it's not long to change if you have the Bogart tool. And it takes an enormous amount of strain off your gear motor, and those are not cheap, and they're somewhat scarce. So if you would like the spring replacement,
you give your year-old bungees to your Cub buddies. It's the same one.
oh, give them to your Cub buddies. Awesome. So the Piper Cub uses the exact same bungee.
I told me when he said I didn't need to change mine, I changed them anyways, because he said it's 3-year deal. I said, no, 1 year.
Cool.
Do we know if the Bogart tool is needed to install the springs that Hans has as a replacement for bungees?
Honestly, I have no, the spring's not available. Hans can design one. He's a DER with he's a structural DER with every single approval in existence on both metals and composites. And so he said, if y'all want it, then he'll make it happen.
It sounds like my question's a little premature then. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know how they'd be installed.
I could answer it theoretically, having changed mine twice. I can't see how you wouldn't have to have a similar tool if you're going to have something that provides similar pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, John,
Yeah.
well said.
That makes sense, certainly.
Cool. Number 14, strut tubes, hard to get. Jimmy has a source. In addition, Dave Pratt of Aircraft Precision Products that makes the dual exhaust says he can also create strut tubes.
Let me correct that, CJ.
Oh, please.
David says he can re-chrome the tubes, maybe grind them also. But
good one.
I haven't heard him say anything about making tubes. Jimmy got his tubes made.
Yeah, I've made my own tubes.
Nice. So we can clearly, thanks to Jimmy, get them done as an owner-produced part. And Jimmy was able to get everything needed to do that.
I got a blueprint from Piper.
So with that, if enough people need strut tubes, it would be cheaper if we can get a bunch of people together that need them to either find a way to make a whole bunch of owner-produced parts at a lower cost, or even better, get a PMA authority so that we can have the best price possible.
I like the chrome that Jimmy put on his also. A lot better than that fancy bumper chrome. Jimmy put on hydraulic cylinder chrome. And then
yeah,
Jimmy,
that's what
should
be on them. That's what
still
should
getting
be
them
on
tubes,
them.
ain't I, Jimmy?
Huh?
Still getting them tubes, ain't I?
Well, I got one of them. I found it. I got to look for the other one.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, to make them, it's not easy process. I'll say that. I've learned a lot from it. But I was told that the early eras had the same size strut tube, but it was longer. That you could cut them off and regrind the holes in them and use them. I don't know. I'm just saying what I was told. Said it and the Swift both had the same type.
Well, I'm going to tease you all by saying that the Bradley FISDO has offered to connect us with somebody from the MIDO who did a ton of PMA authority approvals, and that he's going to be available at the end of the month. So stay tuned. And I think we'll be able to discuss both owner-produced parts and some of the FAA's view on STC and PMA approvals. These guys, fortunately, like older aircraft and seem to want to help us stay flying. So keep your fingers crossed.
Those strut tubes would be an excellent example of something to do, because it's a very simple part. Like Jimmy says, by a competent shop can make it.
Yeah. Yep. And then we just need a bunch. Everybody, feel free to stick your comments into the chat window, but at this point, to try to keep us on schedule, we're going to have parts and sort supply part C at a future Zoom, and I am now going to introduce Nidal Rob and the laser altimeter installation Q&A, because for those of you who got the update either on Delphi, Facebook, or as part of the Zoom invite, Marty, do you want to, rather Ned, do you want to jump in and
CJ, this is Jimmy. Mine is in.
Your laser altimeter is in.
Yeah, mine is already in.
Woo.
Have you flown it?
I haven't flown it. I'm trying to get it there to get it. But I went and paid for the avionics and everything. We were supposed to go up, but I had outer marker lights on in my Comanche. When we took all that stuff out, he had put a plate there, and he went back and took that plate off and put them where that antenna for the outer marker lights went.
Was
Right
the wire
behind
that
the
came in the
luggage
kit?
compartment.
Was the wire that came in the kit long enough to reach that far? Or did you have to use some kind of extra wire?
No, the wire that they sent, you had to run the wire.
Okay.
The wire that was on there wasn't maybe 18 inches long. So
I've got an ADF antenna right in front of that. I'm thinking about maybe going there with it.
Yeah, well, he had taken it off. The hole was still there, so they just went back and made them larger and put them on. But I called them and they sent me my antenna early because I told them it was in the avionics shop. And so I got it last Monday, and I carried David Tuesday, and I went there this past Monday and paid him and trying to get a flight up there to get it. So that's my story. I'm ready to have it home. But I reckon I'm probably the first one to have one mounted.